Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care anyway, guys? We're through to the Scottish Cup semi-final after what was being labelled, what was being billed as potentially the highest pressure domestic game we've faced this season so far. And I'm not going to hear the Aberdeen when they were second. We all kind of knew that wasn't going to really run the course. And even the derby matches we've had this year, I know we didn't win the last one, but who cares? We're so far ahead that it was quite inconsequential. Whereas coming into this game with the form Hibs have been on, they beat us in the league not too long ago as well. This was a real make or break game potentially, where a team really in the ascendancy who think they've got our number, they think they've got a route to goal, they think they've got a strategy or a tactic to maybe getting something out of the game. On top of that, they were bringing 7,000 fans to Paradise to try and cheer on their side. This had all the makings, all the billings of being a classic Scottish Cup encounter where really it could have went either way, and Celtic had to be on their A game for this one. But having watched the match, having been there in person, me and McBride Ace were there to catch the game. That's not really the way it panned out. It was quite a convincing game overall, quite a tame Hibs actually showed up. It was quite a neutered performance from them, it must be said. In the video today, we're going to break down what we've seen in the Scottish Cup quarter-final, the 2-0 victory for the Hoops against Hibs. Because as soon as we turn our attention from this game, it is battle time, it is derby time this weekend. And this week on the channel, we have got a whole bunch of content lined up to preview the game and go through really what it means at this point in the season. At any point in the video today, as we break down the Hibs game, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We should have Anthony Joseph from Sky Sports back on the channel this week, as well as all the usual derby preview stuff that we normally get up to. So if you're interested in catching that sort of content, hit subscribe for more, of course, and get into the comment section in this one and let me know what your big takeaways were, what your main thoughts and feelings were in the aftermath of the Hibs game, because we'll get into my thoughts and feelings and my takeaways in the video today. But when I'm listening to other Celtic fans and I'm getting group chats and threads and all that kind of thing, there's not a consensus between Celtic fans of how this game went, who was good, who was bad, and everything else. So I'm sure the comment section on this one is going to be really interesting to catch up on. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it, because really there's not that much meat on the bones in this game, to be quite honest with you. When we came in to preview the match, the Celtic team was exactly as projected. I think it was us having no midweek football this week, that was a bit of a formality. And the Hibs team would basically caught the prediction for that right, except for one of the centre backs. They brought a great crowd, it was great weather, and really this was it had, like I said in the intro, it had all the makings of being like a real classic, a real throwback game for, when and I grew up in Celtic, and and them as well, were always been quite dominant in the league, and you win in 90% of your matches or whatever. But this recent Celtic that we've had over the last 8 years, where invincibles have happened, where near invincibles is kind of the norm now, where losing 1 or 2 games a season is sort of par. Throw back 10-15 years, Celtic and we could lose 5 or 6 matches across a season. It wasn't impossible. You would drop points to Hibs once in a while, St Mirren, Aberdeen and all the rest of it. But in recent years that's really went away. But this game, especially with the way Hibs in the recent spell in Aberdeen earlier this season, they've been kind of threatening to bring back that bit of jeopardy back into these domestic games to make sure that, the treble doesn't just come back to Paradise again. But really, that was where Hibs' involvement in this really ended for me. In this match, they played in that kind of bubble, that kind of mid-block system where their defence wasn't, don't get me wrong, at times their defence was really, really deep. But for the most part, they tried to contain the majority of their players in this sort of bubble space in the mid-block, as, a lot of the kind of football breakdown analysis people will try and try and term it as, whether it be in this area of the pitch or whenever we would dominate the ball, they would maybe just slide the bubble back into this kind of area. And the reason I'm kind of referring to it as a bubble is because with the back three, it's kind of like the back end of it. You've then got your midfield 3 or 4, depending on how you want to think of Boyle, in this shape along with Campbell within the wide players. So it's just this, and when you see it kind of fluently on the pitch, it's not really a square like a block is, it's a bit more rounded. And really, they never broke out of this shape very often. The boy Bowie, the boy Boyle, they had moments where they tried to do stuff. They had one chance on Schmeichel. The Engels blocks greatly, goes for a corner. They did absolutely nothing in this game, honestly. They were so passive. Honestly, it was very disappointing from Hibs and what they brought to this game in so many ways. And it just really put Celtic into cruise control for the large part of this game. And it really felt like an exhibition at times. Daisen Maeda was the arrowhead, the focal point forward. And I thought he did a great job between this really robust Hibs free of finding little pockets of space to latch on the end of stuff, to try and get some 50-50s, to try and get some shots away. And he really showed a huge desire, a huge determination to always get his body on the end of stuff, to always make the space, to always make the run. And it felt like one of the best performances, positionally, movement-wise, domestically, we've seen from Dyson in this Arrowhead, because complemented by Jota on one side and Kuhn on the other. And I know neither were spectacular, but the balance, the synergy, the interplay between the front three, we're now seeing regularly. This is the second or third match I've noticed we can see and we do see Jota and Kuhn swapping sides for maybe a wee 5 minutes just to get another feel on the opposite side of the pitch. Could they get more joy out of the winger on the other side before swapping over and keeping the opposition really on their toes? And I thought, without us being completely clinical of like scoring 5 or 6 goals or whatever, we had a very clear route to go, and we kind of got into the final third as often as we wanted to. With Hibs being in this kind of mid-block bubble, quite often it was the case whether it be either Jeffrey Schlupp, maybe somebody like Arne Engels, or maybe Alistair Johnson, where we're trying to play the ball round the outside of the Hibs team and trying to get Jota or Kuhn or whoever it might be running at them, breaking the offside trap through these kind of channels round the side here. And this is just exactly the way we want to play. This is exactly how we want to get into the box. And there felt like there was a lot of huffing and puffing in this game that didn't quite bear the fruits. But honestly, between a lot of the play that we've seen from these key players like the Engels, Schlupp, Hatate, who we'll talk about a little bit more in a second, as well as those front three, I know we gave Hibs a lot of respect and we definitely come into this game with full motivation, but it didn't really feel that a lot of the guys really got out of second or third gear. Hibs did a good job of making the spaces tight to play in between, or to play through. When they lost the ball, certainly they were quite quick to drop into this kind of back five with a free shield, and then having Boyle and Bowie trying to nip on the ankles or snap on the heels of whoever had the ball. And with us being given so much possession in the early stages of the match, it felt like we got really comfortable really quickly. We were able to put our foot on the ball, we were able to dictate the play, we were able to decide who we were going to put on the ball, and like, right, okay, Jota, it's your turn. Go and attack the line, go and try and make something happen. Alright, okay, Kuhn, it's your turn. Let's get you on the ball and try and make something happen. There was never really much space to break into. There was never much kind of happenstance opportunity that kind of arisen in this match. They lost a substitution, and they lost a player to substitution to injury in the first half, with Cadden coming off for Obita. And it felt like, maybe anxiety, nerves, a little bit of that did start to creep into the match right before we got the goal, because we were huffing and we were puffing, we were getting higher up the pitch, we were pushing them further back and further back, giving them space to break into, which is what they are after in this game. And it felt like as we were, coiling the spring, as we were setting up, as we were really camping them into their own half, we then open up the door to that jeopardy of a counter-attack, of something to go against us. And the goal really came at a perfect time to really just get across all the dominance we had and get something to show for it, to take a bit of the sting out the game, to take a bit of that anxiety, a bit of that pressure in. Dyson is alive. Not a great goal, gets on the rebound, but he never stops moving, gets away from his man who's flat-footed. And then from there was a nice little kind of professional period in the back end of the first half where you could tell the whole Celtic team was, let's just finish the first half, boys. Let's not do anything silly. We're winning the first half. Let's get up the tunnel and get ready for the second half, essentially. Just allowing the play to break down. Casper maybe held onto the ball a little bit longer if we got fouled. Maybe took an extra wee 10 seconds to get the ball set up and play the pass, that sort of thing. And it felt like the first half was just like really good game management, and you could tell the boys hadn't played midweek. You could tell they came into this game super fresh. You could tell they came into this game with a very clear game plan, a really clear tactic on how we were going to nullify Hibs, stop them doing anything, but ultimately make sure we went on to win the match ourselves. And with the shots we were getting, from the likes of McGregor, some of the play we were getting from Schlupp, never mind some of the creation we were getting in and around the front three, I expected the second half to be a bit more ferocious, a little bit more high octane. But that wasn't really the way it fell. It's still a little bit nip and tuck. Both teams were still being quite tenuous around it. And I think the length of time it took Brendan Rodgers to make his substitutions in this game that we generally see in more comfortable matches around the 60-65 minute didn't really click in till at the 70th minute. They'd made a couple of subs. They'd actually made 3 subs by the 65th minute, one down to injury, and then the likes of Levitt and Gale coming on in the 65th minute to bring on fresh legs and maybe try and go up a gear, because still at 1-0 the match is still in the balance, and if they can try and get a new route to goal or try and get an edge somewhere by making some alterations, I felt like that was their time to do it. We hung on to the 75th minute before probably one of the stories of the game. Callum McGregor comes off for Luke McKeown and Jota comes off for Yang. Now, in the early stages of the game, we'd seen like Engels is still motoring around the pitch, still doing his Rolls Royce kind of number 8 midfielder role. But when we were giving Hibs a bit of respect, it was a bit closer to McGregor, almost in that kind of double pivot position. But this is the second time now that we've seen McGregor come off for McKeown, and a real change in the paradigm in midfield. When McKeown comes on to play alongside Hatate again, who both of these guys have shown a great synergy, a great chemistry together in all the matches that we've seen them play, really, especially domestically. And we had Engels kind of dropping back in here a little bit again. Now, I think Engels in these games where, kind of similar to when McGregor's doing well in these positions, that the opposition are going to stand off you and you can really just control the game, be the dictator, the controller in the midfield. Engels has got such a great range of passing that he can very quickly spray it into different channels and move the ball up the pitch very well. He's very cool and calm and composed. His physical presence, you do feel maybe just puts off these guys being a bit more brave, being a bit more adventurous to get into this triangle here if we're going to be passing it out from the back. Almost like that fake, security camera that people put in the front of their house, or the fake house alarm that people mount to their wall. Just by having that big strapping Belgian boy back there, it maybe just puts them off a little bit more, trying to overly commit, to trying to overcommit on the press there. So I think that was it's a nice alteration that we're seeing come into the team. But number one, we don't need McGregor, and if McGregor isn't there, that we can actually get some other qualities, some other benefits out of some other players. McKeown obviously gets the assist for the Adam Ida goal right towards the end, and he was a real live wire. This is the sort of game that we've signed Luke McKeown for, is these tight domestic matches where he is comfortably, like, he almost went to Hibs. Luke McKeown is good enough to play for anyone else in the division, week in, week out. I think we all know that. And with most of his good games, he's shown that. And with some of the games where he's not been as influential, for one reason or another, you do feel the opportunity missed element there, because McKeown is a guy that can influence these games. And the partnership that he's been building with Hatate in a bunch of matches, not just this one, is really starting to bear some fruit now. And this is something we could see, not even just for the remainder of this season, but going forth in both of their Celtic careers. But again, similar to last time McGregor came off, for me, this meant Hatate he's a controller. Hatate is in the driver's seat. He is the playmaker. And I felt a lot of frustration in the stadium around Hatate, particularly after McGregor went off, and maybe some of the aftermath I'm hearing people talking about. And I could hear people around me at the match saying, "Oh yeah, Rio Hatate, 1 week he's hot, 1 week he's cold, you never know, oh, I can't be arsed today." All the usual tropes that you hear about him, and so much of it is so far wide of the mark for me, it's untrue. Hatate has got lots of qualities that are amazing, on both sides of the ball, defensively, offensively, and all the rest of it. But I do think the number one thing that he suffers from in all of these instances of people talking about him being on form, off form, hot, cold, whatever, is he's just a bit indecisive. And I think you've really seen that in this match, where there would be large periods where he would be in, like, I think large periods, you're talking in real terms like 15 seconds or whatever, but he'd be in this kind of area of the pitch, give or take. He'd have time and space on the ball. He'd maybe be travelling forward, give or take, maybe travelling across the pitch. And he's just really indecisive. He just doesn't know, should I play that runner there? Should I play this runner here? Should I play it safe and then make a run myself? He's just still kind of like... Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the times when he's been in this role and he looks really good, he's just very decisive. He's just not that it's the whole, if you overthink it, you make the mistake, but it's just the match has more of a tempo to it. There's more demanding situations where it's like you don't have as many clear options. There is only one clear good option. So activate that, take that, make the shot, make the pass. Whereas when Hibs were really standoffish in this middle zone of the pitch here, he has time to pick up his head, to look this way, travel here, no, I don't fancy it, maybe come back over this way with the ball and then play a pass. And I don't think he was bad, I just think he was really indecisive. And I think anyone giving him a bit of a hard time for this game is maybe just overlooking he didn't actually do anything bad, he just maybe wasn't decisive enough, is the only way of putting it. Just know what he wanted to do and execute it. It was very close, could have had an absolute world day of a goal in this game as well. Jordan Smith, who has just had a new contract at Hibs, made some amazing saves in this game, and that's not to be forgotten either. But you did feel that, after we brought on McKeown and Yang, it's not necessarily that we're going to the second string or we're taking our foot off the gas, but you did feel that Hibs thought this might be our chance, this might be our time to go back in the game. They take off Campbell for Yuan, and then I was at the game live. It's really hard to catch on the highlights back thereafter. I'm not too sure how they done it, but they went to a back four at this point. I don't know if Miller went into midfield and moved up a bit more, or if it was Cadden and then Miller went out. Perhaps maybe it was a bit more like that. But they went to a four at the back for the end portion of the match. that really did help. It felt like McKeown and Tatate just be a bit more direct, be a bit more decisive, be a bit more on the front foot. And credit to Brendan Rodgers, because not long after we see them go into a 4-3-3, he takes off Nicholas Kuhn for Adamida. Dyson shifts out to the left, Yang comes all the way back over to the right, and Yang could have had another chance to be a hero in this game, didn't quite take it, but nice set-up pass for him to play McKeown before the cutback for Ida to make it 2-0, and to make it, in the end, a convincing, a comfortable game. A scoreline that better reflects the passage of play. I don't think Hibs deserved anything in this game. If I was a Hibs fan going to Celtic Park, I'd be pretty raging at how crap the team were, how unadventurous they were. 7,000 fans went there for that. That should have been like a real cup final atmosphere. Hibs should have been really trying to get something in this game, and it didn't really seem like they were really at it, and that they weren't that motivated to attack the game. They were more trying to be coiled and then try and spring onto this sort of thing. This doesn't really give us much of a precursor, much of a heads in to the derby this week, so I don't think Rangers will be anywhere near as passive or as kind of limp as Hibs were in this game. It'll be a much different atmosphere. But one of the great things about this game coming into it is we had a full week to prepare for it. We have a full week to prepare for the next derby. We managed to use the bench really well, and we've still managed to rotate Callum McGregor, Jota, who's still getting back up to speed. We managed to get Ida back on the score sheet as well. So it did just really feel like it's just a job's done exercise, real tick off, great shift, nice quarter-final, a lot more routine quarter-final than what we were, I don't know if we were saying hoping. The Celtic fans, we always like to see a show, we always like to see a game. We'd never want to see us lose or concede goals or whatever, so I'm not too sure if it's what we wanted, but we certainly expected this to be a different type of match, and it really wasn't. We move into the semi-finals, and hopefully now we are just marching on our way to yet another treble, a 9th treble, which would be historic in and itself. Dyson Maeda got man of the match in this one for me, and really, like, it's kind of hard to argue. I'm not sure there was a standout man of the match in this one. He got the opening goal. He was the most ever present. He could have had a hat-trick in this game with some of the near chances, and the chances he missed in this game aren't typical Dyson chances that he's missed before, and you're pulling your head out like, how has he missed that? Yeah, some of them are very fine margin, but they are the perfect example of only he gets on the end of some of those ones. You think about the one he's missed in the second half where the ball just goes by the post, or the 50-50 where he breaks in here with Rocky. The ball's played, I think maybe from Schlupp or from Jota in this area here, and he gets one-on-one with the keeper. Not many players are actually getting those chances, or not actually getting on the end of those balls, making those runs. So it felt like Dyson could have had another spectacular game, had a good game, good man of the match performance, and was probably, it's not even the best of a bad bunch, but everyone was just kind of par for the course. Everyone did their bit, no one made any mistakes. And did anyone really stand up in this game? Not really, but I think Dyson was the closest thing to it, really. And yeah, another solid 90 minutes under the belt for Schlupp. I do think he's going to be playing in the derby next week, as well as basically the team we've seen starting this one. But there could be another little curveball, maybe another twister turn in the road between now and next weekend. Rangers, of course, playing Thursday night. If any of you want to try and hate watch that, feel free. Whenever I end up hate watching them, I didn't watch the Fenerbahce game, but whenever I do hate watch them, they end up winning, so I've just stopped doing that. So yeah, really looking forward to catching the comments on this one, guys. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more content like this on screen, and now with some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Hail, hail, and Moan the Hoops.